Evening, good afternoon, everyone. It is the notorious, glorious V the Girl Economist, and I'm with my main man CJ, and I just been blown away. Wow! If you guys been following that Amy Gerthy, that's her name, Guthrie, whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Her case where this is the girl, Dallas Police Department. She's at her apartment. She's coming after a 14-hour shift. Goes to the wrong apartment thinking it's hers and shoots the guy dead. And the guy he's an accountant for TD Price Cooper Waterhouse. And homeboy was just sitting on his couch eating vanilla ice cream, watching the Thursday night football game. Sees a cop coming through and he gets blasted. And of course, he was sentenced to convicted of murder and sentenced. And Amber Geiger, that's her name. What the victim's brother did, I think his name is Brandon. What his brother did in the courtroom blew my mind away. It blew my mind away, and it reminded me exactly of who we are as a species on this planet, as a race on this planet, folks. This is what America is about. And I'm hoping and praying that that those in the powers that be, the leadership that play us like they play a fiddle, that pit one against the other. I pray that this moment right here breaks through all of that left-right false paradigm. It breaks through all of that and it brings people together. Because, folks, let me tell you, man, we are all in this together. CJ, play the clip, my man.
Mr. Sean, the floor is yours.
I don't want to say twice or for the 100th time what you've or how much you've taken from us. I think you know that. But I hope you go to God with all the guilt, the bad things you may have done in the past. Each and every one of us may have done something that we're not supposed to do. If you truly are sorry, I know I can speak for myself. I forgive you. And I know if you go to God and ask him, he will forgive you. And I don't think anyone could say it. Again, I'm speaking for myself, not even behalf of my family. But I love you just like anyone else. And I'm not gonna say I hope you rot and die just like my brother did, but I personally want the best for you. And I wasn't gonna ever say this in front of my family or anyone, but I don't even want you to go to jail. I want the best for you. Because I know that's exactly what both of them would want you to do. And the best would be give your life to Christ. I'm not going to say anything else. I think giving your life to Christ would be the best thing that both of them would want you to do. Again, I love you as a person. And I don't wish anything bad on you. I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? Please.
Yes.
Turn back TV.
That is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen, especially in a long time. And CJ and I have been doing this for years now. It's so refreshing when we see all the bad crap that we have to talk about, all the problems that we have to discuss. And when we look at finding solutions to everything that's facing humanity, and we're seeing, and especially all of us that are in this movement, all of us that are really awakened to what is really going on, you see what is coming upon humanity. You see those that are in power, those who are so corrupt and so evil to the core. You see what is coming before us, and for and it's often very hard, folks, to know about the future, to know about what is coming down the road as the inevitable. And it's a mathematical inevitability. And then you kind of lose hope for humanity. You kind of like, God, where's the spirit of life? Where is humanity? And it's moments like this that God does, like what CJ was saying before we went live. It's like, he's like, God works in mysterious ways, and I have to agree with that. And I hope that the words of this young man and the actions of this young man reverberate from coast to coast. I pray that it shatters paradigms. I pray that it convicts hearts. I pray that it once again brings to remembrance, in spite of all the noise and the rhetoric of the last couple of years, that we are reminded of who we are. We are reminded that we are people, that we are human beings, that we are black, that we are white, that we're yellow, we're brown, and any other shade in between. That at the end of the day, we are Americans. At the end of the day, what makes this country great is not the bloody, stupid government. It's the people. And when I see things like this, folks, I am absolutely moved. Absolutely moved. Powerful stuff, CJ.
Yeah, yeah, very well said. I knew of this tragedy that occurred, and looking at what people are posting, put aside everything for just a moment in regards to the crime. It was a tragedy, all that took place. But to see this young man, I think he's 18 years old, to get up there and no matter where you are, spiritually, right? Regardless of that, take a look at it from the perspective of humanity, from the perspective of caring for one another, caring for yourself. And then more importantly, the message that's there. And you nailed it, V. Too many times as a society, and the last 2-3 years have probably been the most dynamic in terms of putting things at odds against each other. Whether it's politically, racially, all those things that are occurring. And I'm a firm believer, but those things are by design. That the controllers that control the things that are happening want us to be divided on a permanent basis. And I'm going to go deep here because I think it's necessary. But I firmly believe that the earth and everything that revolves around us, that there's a greater consciousness that's there. And that when we live, breathe on a daily basis, whether it's the news, what we watch, what we read, everything that our consciousness as individuals affects everything around us. Because why? Because they don't want us as a spirit, as a person, to reach the full capabilities that we can. I'm confident that our bodies are there's certain things that we can do that they don't want us to know. And so this message was just so significant. And I meant that when I said that I firmly believe at this time that the Lord does work, in very mysterious ways. And you take a look at this message, the message of forgiveness. And to me, forgiveness is probably the greatest gift that you can ever give an individual, no matter what has transpired. And it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage to do that. So that's why this message to me was a lot more than just resonated to me. It touched me. It moved me. It was just, I'm just kind of a loss of words for the reflection upon Paul, what it was, even though I just spoke for 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, I'm still reeling from it. It was just powerful. It was beautiful to see it, nonetheless, man. It really was. And I hope and pray, man. I hope and pray the country gets together. The country rallies, and I hope and pray that the country rallies around the fact that we are fighting for. We're the last vestige of Western civilization, CJ. And I've said this to so many people. I've said this so many times. Europe is dead. Europe is done for. And the trend over there cannot be reversed unless there's a serious cultural awakening, the price of which I don't think any European leader, politician, or group has any sort of will, ability, numbers, or wherewithal to see those changes come to pass. And the UK is fighting for its life. They got their own set of problems. And that leaves us here in the US. These are the last two nations left standing. Okay? They still have a fighting chance to turn it around. UK has a fighting chance to turn it around. The US has a fighting chance of turning it around. And I'll tell you right now, the UK is a little further along than we are in terms of the rot. There's big problems over there. We stand a very good chance of turning this around. But it's going to require the population to wake the hell up. It requires the population to ask themselves the question, why is this current administration under constant duress, under constant bombardment, under constant witch hunts from day one? What is it about this administration that they don't like, that they keep going after? And I'm not saying this administration is perfect. I'm not saying this administration doesn't make mistakes, though there's a lot of mistakes. But as flawed as it is the best time for Americans to rally around and at least come to the wherewithal conclusion that we can all agree on is that our government is so damn bloody corrupt. The whole entire place needs to be purged because they are the ones dividing us. They are the ones who turn brother against brother. I mean, I've never seen it such a way as this, CJ, where You know, the media would always peddle us, race versus race. And there's only one race on this planet. It's called the human race, with different ethnic expressions. The thing is, we're divided amongst, lines of race and color, of ethnicity. And then when that's not enough, they divide us, gender against gender, male versus female. And when that's not enough, it's straight versus gay. And then that's not enough, it's red versus blue. And when that's not enough, it's a total and complete divided house. And it doesn't help, CJ. It doesn't help that we are living in a time that not only is the media complicit and weaponized against fracturing the very fabric of America and the West, but also the tech giants are the very conduits for the supposed quote-unquote fascism that they are fighting, Siege.
Yeah, very very well said, V. I think it's important for all of us to understand that and the direction that we're going. I know many people do not see, the writing on the wall of what's transpiring here in America, whether it's the political divide, the economic turmoil situation, the tsunami that's there, that's about to hit, V. And for many, V, it's going to shake the foundation, and it's going to put a lot of people in disbelief about what happened. How did this happen? Many people not seeing that transpire. And one of the things I always look back to try to reflect on and understand is that, has there been situations like that, whether you take a look at the Depression or you take a look at the collapse of the former Soviet Union. And I wasn't there. I'm not a historian. I don't know exactly everything that they went through as a society in general through that time. But I'm sure that it was very challenging to live, through that situation, through communists, through the collapse. And when you take a look at Russia today, where it is and what they're focusing on their growth, I think there could be some example for us to review, maybe study, potentially for what's heading our way, because these systems, these things that are being put in place by these tech giants, by the surveillance state that's being created, they know what's ahead, and that's why they're ramping these systems up, to keep that programming up, to keep us not focused on what's transpired. V, there's not a story today that breaks regarding Google, the censorship, that Google's creating this monster database, that they directly work, with dark forces to curtail, to suppress humanity. And there's not a story we don't read. We read these things every other day, these things that are occurring and happening. And again, for the majority of us not to understand that and what's coming, and not to understand that the expansion of the surveillance state is very real. Even the state that I live in, and I didn't fully understand it, V, but apparently we have some type of, I don't know whether it's a new national ID program, or maybe I was asleep and didn't read about it or see it. But we have this new real ID program, and I don't know if this just applies to Hoosiers. Maybe someone in the comment section.
It actually applies to the entire United States. We have that rolling out in New York. I got to get a real ID by I think next November. Otherwise, I won't be able to drive a car. I can't vote. I can't. I mean, it's just insanity. I mean, I'm cool with the voting stuff, but now I got to have this compliant real ID, which also doubles as a passport for travel between between Canada and Mexico. It's interesting.
Yeah, all this expansion, and we haven't talked about it in great detail, but the tech giants understand is that they don't have the infrastructure and the systems in place to fully enslave humanity, to control and manage every aspect of our lives. And in part, that's why they need quantum computing. That's why they need the rollout of the new 5G technology, because in order to basically surveil and in order to provide that surveillance, to monitor our internet traffic, to monitor what the temperature that we have inside our homes, to monitor the conversations that we're having in our bedrooms, to monitor what we're reading online, all these technology things in place that these people envision, the utopia, the fake utopia that they envision, that's why they need these things in place. But they will convince us to embrace it. They will, and I think in part because if you take a look at all these expansion, these rollouts, what does it typically do when we don't understand that America has already arrived at a fascist state, that we don't understand that there has been the last several years the merger of government and corporations? How do you think that they've achieved this? They have the blueprint. They know and understand these things, and I just wish more people would understand what that looks like and why it's happening. And I know you probably have some thoughts on that expansion of government and corporations and how it's evolved, and I think that's why we've arrived at Google and Microsoft and all these things that we have.
When you look at tech, you look at big tech. I believe, and you guys know this, if you do some research on the idiot Jeff Bezos, you'd understand that Jeff Bezos was at one point a government employee. He worked for the SES. SES was the basically that is where the deep state resides, man. It's service, selective service, and what I don't remember the acronym what it stands for. But I think it was SES. And Bezos, from what I remember, and if it was told to me, from what was told to me, if I remember this correctly, was given about $10 million back in the 90s to go ahead and start Amazon. And since then, excuse me, he has been coddled. He has been being built up. He look, companies like Amazon, Fakebook, Scroogle, on the surface it looks like that they are these benign media platforms, internet platforms, that they're just these they're just benign, they're just ubiquitous and benign, but they're not. They are all part of the security apparatus. What do you think Amazon is there for? Amazon is tracking your buying and purchasing habits. Amazon makes no money on their retail side. They lose money hand over fist, quarter over quarter, year over year. They lose money. So, CJ, let me ask you a question. If you have a company where one part of your company's division is doing well, it's actually making some bucks, but then you have another side of the company, another department, and that other side hasn't made money in like 15, 20 years. Do you think you'd run that division of the business, or would you just close it down?
Close it down unless I was funded by the government.
Exactly. It's a loss leader. So they will sell things at a complete total loss. They make no money. I mean, look at the Amazon Essentials crap, right? They don't make any money on this stuff. And they don't turn enough for profit. They're about undercutting the competition. Why? So when they're the only game in town, you could only buy from them. And there's an old saying, CJ, it goes like this. You tell me, I can tell the kind of person you are from the stuff you buy. You can tell a lot about a man by what he spends his money on. You can tell a lot about a woman by what she spends his money on. Case in point. You can tell if on an Amazon profile, this has been done, and you guys already know this, and it's even been done in supermarkets. If a woman goes into Amazon and shops, they can tell if she's married or she's not, if she has kids, how many kids does she have, how old the kids are. They can tell, hell, how many times she goes to the bathroom. They get a rough estimate on that as well. How often she uses toilet paper. They get a rough estimate on that as well. These are not benign things. They can tell if you have a goldfish. They have you have a dog, a cat. They can tell all these things by your buying habits. Your buying habits also, if you put in the right kind of multipliers and the right kind of algorithms, can also get a rough estimate as to exactly how much money you spend per year. Now, they'll know exactly how much you spend per year on shopping. Plus, they have a good tally on your yearly income. These parameters are so powerful. Let me give you an example. I was on a call, and I'll divulge this information without giving away details. But I was on the call with a major data company. And the data company is like, well, V, here's the deal. We have access to 250 million people. I was like, really? He goes, yeah. We get hired by Fortune 100 companies all the time. We do geofencing. I'm like, what the hell is that? Well, if you're Pizza Hut, which I personally hate, and you want to find out what Domino's is doing, which I also personally hate. If you're from New York, you go eat a Domino's and Pizza Hut, oh my God, you get shot. You'll be like, oh my God, CJ, if I ever told my friends I ate at a Pizza Hut or a Domino's, I get beat up, bro.
Guilty as charged.
Oh my God, that's why I don't walk into those places. I just don't. I fear for my life. So I might wind up like one of those bankers, take a flight out of a window somewhere. But in terms of so if I was Pizza Hut, I want to find out what Domino's or Little Caesars is doing. I would call this tech company, this data company. They would put what's called a geofencing within, basically down to the front door of my competitors' establishments all over the state. I can do it in not only one location. I can put it in 10,000 locations, and every single person that walks in that has a cell phone in their pocket, they can find out who they are, their names, their contact information, their phone numbers, where exactly their current address is, and even down to their credit scores. CJ, how are they pulling credit scores? I don't know, but I'll tell you this: they were so damn good as to the amount of detail they were able to extract with their data mining, that the big three credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, did an audit on this data company, because this data company was getting credit scores within 5 to 7 points of an actual FICO, and they're not pulling credit. How the hell is that even possible? How the hell are data companies who are designing marketing schemes getting your credit score between 5 and 7 points of a FICO, and they're not even pulling credit? That the bureaus had to come in and do an audit to make sure that they're not. If that doesn't terrify you, and if you think this is all just benign, it's just Facebook, it's just Instagram, it's just Twitter, it's just Amazon, my friends, you are the product. I love there's a verse in the Bible in the New Testament. I believe it's in 2 Peter. I believe it's in 2 Peter. It says this: and behold, in the last days, they will make merchandise of you. You're the product. People are like, well, V, we always have, people are always completely befuddled. They're raging. And they'll say to me, hey, man, the problem is we don't have a gold-backed currency. The problem is our money's made out of thin air. The problem is, it's printed out of nothing, and there's no confidence. And they don't understand. We are in the world of fractional reserve lending. We're in the world right now of the central bankers. And then you culminate that with the force multiplier that right now we are in a completely algorithmic, electronic, derived and driven world, my friend, at that point, you don't need at all to have your currency backed by nothing. Why? Because since 1933, you, the American citizen, has been the backup for the currency all along. And this is what most people don't understand about the bankruptcy of the United States, which is pretty much right now written out of history. But in 1933, there was a bankruptcy and there was a reshuffling. You can't find anything on that anymore on the online. You can't find anything like that. Luckily, there's some clues to it, like House Joint Resolution HJR 192. I'm not going to get into all that, but you are the collateral. That's why your Social Security number, it's a bonded number. There's a monetary value attached to you. You're the product. These tech companies are giving everything to you, but you don't realize that behind the tech companies, behind the most average Americans just think that, it's all Google. Do you think Google and Eric Schmidt and all these idiots and the Android, what's his name, Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, you think these guys could exist without the blessings of the deep state? You think these guys are nothing but middle managers? Well, Bezos is the richest man in the world. If you think that, then I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. You think these low-level middle managers are the gods and mavens of today? You think these guys can exist without the blessings of the real powers that be? These guys are window dressing to keep you distracted. Bezos, the CEO of a company that makes no money, he's worth $167 billion. Mark Zuckerberg, a CEO of a company that makes no money, he's worth $9 billion.
Let's also not forget in terms of what Amazon has been doing recently. So not only do they want to control everything that they see, our purchases, but look at their recent acquisition. Who at one time was probably one of the largest grocery chains that really promoted GMO-free food, organic food, eating healthy. Mm-hmm. And who did Amazon purchase a couple years ago? Whole Foods, right? Yep. They went into Whole Foods. And what's transpired since that point? Well, guess what? Now they don't so much care about their food supply. They're okay now with GMO food coming in. They're okay with all these other foods that may not be the healthiest thing for them. One other perspective to consider in terms of Amazon is their entire cloud storage.
Yeah,
they probably have one of the largest cloud storage that's out there. I can't imagine the amount of companies that they host for and obtaining that data that's there. And the scary part is that they not only also want to know what we're purchasing, they want to know what we're intaking into our bodies. They recently purchased a pharmacy mail order program. I believe it was PillPack. Don't quote me on that. They purchased PillPack. So not only do they want to control every aspect of our lives and what we're buying, what we're purchasing, but now what we're putting in our bodies, where we're getting our prescriptions from, what are the drugs? And you can't tell me that each one of us somewhere, the database that's there, that's us on an individual. It would truly be remarkable to see that be. And we covered this several years ago, but in my opinion, all these data breaches that we hear about on a continuous basis, that your credit card records were stolen, Equifax, these credit bureaus, they all had data breaches. All of your information is in there. They put these things out several years ago in the making, so that way when they're ready to move us to more towards this social credit program or social monitoring program, they can justify it by saying that the data is no good anymore, that the data is so corrupt because there's been all this technology, all this background information so compromised that they need to implement these new things.
Yeah.
And for the most part, because the majority of people are asleep at the wheel, it'll make sense to people. They'll be like, yeah, you're right. You know, I know that I've been hacked several times. I know all these things took place, so I need to sign up for it and understand it. That's the thought process that we need to get out to people, to understand that these things are happening, you know, by design. This isn't. I laugh anymore when people label or say, you know, conspiracy theorist, or you're a conspiracy, you know, nut job, all those things, because more times than not has there been any conspiracy theory that people have pointed the finger at the last several years that haven't come true, that hasn't taken place. So this conversation in regards to the tech giants, there's a certain level at the grassroots, at your home level, that everyone should be considering. Is I think one of the smartest things that each individual can start doing is you know, taking advantage and doing some of these new indoor grow programs, or even outdoor, where potentially you could do your own fruits and vegetables, these things, because, you know, our food supply is going to be so contaminated with all these things, and it's going to be a struggle to find food that doesn't have these things already, either GMOs manufactured directly into them, or contaminants from the rain that's coming down on all this, or the overspray of the glyphosate, the carryover. And, you know, that's why we're having so many stomach health related issues nowadays.
Yep.
It's
you know, another thing that's
good.
what's happening to us, man. It's killing our testosterone levels, bro.
Oh, that's a fact. That's proven,
dude. Wrecking it. That's what I'm telling you right now. If you're a guy, you're like 30 and over, go get some TRT. I'm telling you straight up. And if you can't get TRT, find somebody who can get you some clean gear. Because I'm telling you right now, man, what they're doing right now, like, dude, it's bad, Siege. It's bad. Like, you know, it's so bad. You know, I was thinking to myself, like, you know, when I was younger, I was made out of rubber and magic, bro. You know, it was a beautiful thing. And I had a fantastic physique. I could recover quickly from a workout. I could come cold off the street, deadlift 415 without a problem. And my lifts were pretty awesome, dude. I mean, I had my bench, I was doing 405 for reps. I had a 670 squat. I had a 700-pound deadlift. And what else? I mean, my lifts were just ridiculous. Now I'm like huffing and puffing, trying to struggle through a workout. It is just terrible. You know, it's harder to lose weight. I'm fatter than I'm fatter than ever. You know, and it's and I realized, and dude, I went to go get my blood work done. And dude, it's like, I'm like, let me see what my testosterone levels are. I was like, holy shit, it's like 300 nanograms per deciliter of blood. And I'm like saying to myself, and I'm being straight up with all the guys that are listening right now. I'm like 40. My T level should be 800, 900. And this is what's symptomatic, CJ, of pretty much every guy. I have guys that work out with me that look like they're in great shape, but they're always tired, they're aching, the joints are hurting. And I'm like, dude, go get your testosterone checked. God, one of my closest friends from high school. You know, we were in the football team together. We played ball through college. I mean, we've always been dudes in great shape, you know? His testosterone was like 257. I was like, damn. Dude, this stuff is out there. It's killing us, bro. It's lowering our sperm counts. It is wrecking us. It's making us emotionally wrecked. And then on top of that, we're still not... It's also making a lot of men more docile. So there's no rising up against there's no righteous indignation anymore, you know?
Well, I think it was a rogue listener that posted, and I can't exactly remember. I'll have to go back and track it down. But B, do you remember how people laughed at Alex Jones when he was saying that this chemical runoff of these, and I think it's
the frogs
come together,
the fish,
the frogs, yes,
yes, true.
And so there was a great, I think it's less than an 8-minute video of this chemist, and he has a team that's going out and actually, you know, researching this. It actually is going out to these fields with the water runoff and collecting tadpoles and all these things. And literally he has videos of male frogs that essentially, after so much exposure to this chemical, that actually they start even having eggs. This is all documented. These chemicals now, has it been looked at in terms of a larger species? I'm not sure, but it's very interesting to find this data that's taken place, and how that impacted alludes to exactly what you just said is transpiring. I would even say that if you looked at the build, something that I've been curious about, and I've noticed, obviously I've gained a lot of weight since high school, all those things. But if you look at the actual build of boys and men, I would love to see a benchmark study of the capacity of the different body styles and it could be maybe the harder work that we had to do as a youth and so forth. Maybe that's part of it, but I just don't see the size and scale of men in terms of the young adolescent growth that we were accustomed to years ago.
Yeah. You want to know something, dude? I'm glad you said that, because here's the thing, man. I've noticed, like, I go through I walk through the shopping malls and whatnot. You look at young boys today, dude, they don't have the musculature of like our generation. They're softer, they're more, they don't look as hard. A lot of them have like man boobs. I'm like, what the heck's going on, dude? They're all like pudgy or squishy. Like, I grab their arm and it's like squish, And it has to do with the hormones, man. It's the level of estrogen that's in the environment is ridiculous right now. Ridiculous. And atrazine is one of those chemicals that leads to that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Several of our listeners have posted. Okay, great. Yep.
Steve, last but not least, I know we got about 2 or 3 minutes left, man. Jeffrey Epstein, bro. What's going on?
Well, this is one of those stories, V, that you and I personally have tracked for probably since the beginning, right?
Yep.
And to me, in terms of the importance of this case, I think this is kind of like the big foundation that needs to take place. This movement against these people who have, for far too long, have got away with abuse, trafficking of children, and all that. Where there's a very interesting article that I believe is on Blacklisted News that actually is questioning why, and I think it's a former InfoWars reporter. He's no longer with them.
Kurt Nemo.
Yeah. If you have it up, V, if you could do the screen share, that'd be great. But anyway, So if you don't know, worries. But anyway, long story short, it's a very interesting, because apparently the photographer who just happened to be at the right place at the right time when they were removing Epstein, and everyone remembers that picture where he's on the stretcher and they have him covered, but his face is revealed only, which the guy that's wheeled out, his body structure looks different in part to Epstein. The guy looks like he's a lot shorter than Epstein. Maybe some stuff on his face to make him look like Epstein. What it boils down to, V, is that I don't think Epstein is dead at all.
Probably right.
I believe in part that because of him being an asset, not only to the CIA, but also the Mossad, that he was one of those that was too big to kill. And I think in part that he was brought back in. There is a blog spot somewhere that apparently now, again, this is leaning in towards, these are not facts that are out there. A lot of this has just been, hey, you know what, this is what we think took place. There is a blog out there that lists a person who specifically worked within the potential, the jail where Epstein was housed, where we're saying that, you know what, at one point there was a transport vehicle that showed up. Typically when these transport vehicles show up, they're usually there during prime daytime, not during the middle of the night. This particular vehicle had the correct plate, everything else, but they didn't even log that they were even there. and he really speculates whether at that point there was some switch that took place. And it's just, again, maybe this entire bogus impeachment, everything regarding Trump, because I'd never seen the media cover Epstein the way that they did when this story first broke. And because typically it was us, it was a few other alt media channels, but there was a point there, V, where this was really trending. It was really capturing national attention. And then all of a sudden, boom, it just went away just magically. And now we're fixated on something else. I think as a society that I think that we can do better than that. I think that we have to keep pressing and asking questions in regards to this and what exactly, took place. And I know it's a deep rabbit hole, but to me, that where the truth begins is understanding the criminality of these individuals, all the people that took part in this, and exposing that. I don't think that we can move forward as a society until we understand the truth regarding these matters, V.
Yeah, absolutely right, my man. Absolutely right. And that's the most important thing, brother. That's the most important thing, because, clearly whatever they wheeled out, that was not Jeffy Boy. It doesn't, the nose doesn't fit, the cheekbones don't fit, the ear structure itself is completely different. And geez, I just want some sort of resolution, man. I just want some sort of results. I want somebody to go to jail for once. That'd be nice, right? That'd be nice.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, brother, we're at the end of the show, and people want to, I want to do something. Here you go. Watch this. I was talking about testosterone, right, Siege?
Yep.
So I'm gonna do a little testosterone thing here. Here we
Okay.
go. Bam. That's old testosterone V right there. That's old testosterone V right there. Bam. There you go. Back in the day. Back in the day.
You can get that back, V.
Dude, I'm already hitting the gym. And I recommend guys, just do whatever you can, raise your testosterone levels, man. Find a good doctor, get on some TRT, start shredding, and get yourself jacked. Keep yourself moving, because the game is you wanna stay as alive and kicking as long as you can. With that being said, El Cuco, we're over and out.